Revealed, how this misunderstood musician's heartwarming piano request changed everything forever. Ethan's fingers hovered over the piano keys, heart pounding as if they could echo his hopes. In the small town of Cedar Grove, overshadowed by empty factories and fading storefronts, he was just a diner worker. But inside him burned dreams far brighter than his surroundings. The nights were the hardest after he served coffee and breakfast to the locals. He'd stay behind in the empty diner, filling the silence with melodies that swirled between memories of his late father and his struggling mother. Each note strummed the chords of resilience, love, and longing, weaving through the air like threads of hope. One rainy evening, Ethan stumbled into the town hall, dripping and weary, drawn by the disillusioned murmurs around a charity event for local veterans. He could see the organizers laboring under stony gazes of wealth and privilege, fingers crossed but spirits low. Ethan felt a surge of courage. He thought of his mother, her health straining under the weight of medical bills. What if I could help? He dared to think. He approached the organizers, barely finding his voice amidst the dismissive snickers that echoed around him. Let me play at your event. Music can lift spirits. A hush fell, followed by reluctant agreement from the crowd. Yet from the balcony, snide whispers reached his ears. Just a diner worker with delusions of grandeur. Did they see him for who he was? His heart sank, a tightness gripping his chest, but he pushed it aside. With each passing day leading up to the event, he poured his passion into practice, lingering notes echoing his dreams against the diner's faded yellow walls. He tapped into the support of a handful of townsfolk, who shared fond memories of how he'd played during winter festivals, reminding him that goodness often lay hidden in shadows. Finally, the night of the event arrived. Ethan's fingers glided over polished keys, the room's atmosphere transforming with each soft but vibrant note. People began to smile, remembering what it felt like to be a community. But just as tension eased into joy, a scuffle erupted among the elite, drowning his music in a wave of chaos. Doubts flooded his heart. He hesitated, considering walking away, slipping back into the shadows where they believed he belonged, but then the eyebrows of those townsfolk who believed in him filled his mind. Their hope ignited a flicker deep within him. He stood, heart racing, overcoming uncertainty, and launched into a speech born from his struggles. He spoke of love, unity, and the strength found in community. Look around. We are all more than our roles in this town. We carry each other's burdens. Eyes glimmered, but before he could finish, an unexpected interruption swept through the crowd like a gust of harsh wind, stealing his breath and shattering the moment. What would happen next? Would he find acceptance or remain just the diner worker? The atmosphere hung in suspense, a mix of anticipation and dread, resonating with Ethan's realization that the outcome of his soulful plea remained a tantalizing mystery. Would his voice finally be heard in the symphony of Cedar Grove, or would the barriers built by prejudice silence him indefinitely? As the silence fell again, the stage like his heart was left waiting, holding on to the unresolved tension of the night. The silence lingered, thick with uncertainty. Ethan's heart raced, each beat echoing in his ears like the desperate rhythm of a drum. He scanned the crowd, their faces a mix of confusion and intrigue. Some remained fixated on the chaos, while others shifted their gazes toward him, a whispered possibility stirring in their eyes. Could it be? Could he truly bridge this divide? Then, he noticed a young girl standing at the front, her wide eyes filled with hope. She clutched a crumpled piece of paper. Something inside him ignited. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to let his music do the talking. Taking a deep breath, Ethan returned to the piano. He let his fingers remember the warmth of the keys, the magic they held. As he began to play, the opening chords wrapped around the room like a familiar embrace. He poured his soul into every note, drawing out feelings of love and unity that resonated with him and, he hoped, with everyone listening. The music weaved through the chaos. It brushed against the worries and doubts lingering in the atmosphere. The girl, transfixed, began to sway gently to the rhythm, her smile a beacon of resilience. One by one, heads turned. The whispers softened. Ethan closed his eyes, letting the melody guide him. It took him back to recollections of laughter at family gatherings, of warmth from shared stories, of moments when music had brought comfort during the hardest times. He wanted to share that warmth with all of Cedar Grove. As the final notes lingered in the air, Ethan opened his eyes to a transformed room. Faces that had been turned away were now looking at him with admiration. The odd scuffle had subsided, and a new energy filled the space, curiosity and kindness illuminating the crowd. A voice pierced through the silence, an elderly lady from the back of the room standing with tears in her eyes. "You're not just a diner worker, Ethan. You're a gift to this town." With those words, an unexpected wave surged through the audience. They began to clap, initially awkwardly, but with each beat, the applause grew stronger, more sincere. Ethan felt tears prick his eyes. He was shaking, not from fear but from the rush of acceptance washing over him. Each person clapped for him, but also for themselves, for the dreams flickering in their own hearts that often went unnoticed. Feeling emboldened, Ethan stepped away from the piano. "If we can lift each other up through music, we can build something beautiful in Cedar Grove. Together, we can bring joy to our community and help those in need." The audience responded with a rippling cheer. But just as Ethan felt on the brink of something amazing, an abrupt silence fell again. He turned to see a figure in a tailored suit standing at the back, arms crossed, expression hard as stone. The man had the unmistakable air of authority, and Ethan's stomach dropped. "Who do you think you are?" the man demanded, his voice cutting through the newfound harmony. "You're still just a diner worker. Do you really think you can change anything?" Ethan froze, the hopeful atmosphere darkening with uncertainty. Was this man about to unravel everything he'd just built? In that moment, Ethan realized that this was not just about him proving his worth but a chance to redefine who they all were in Cedar Grove. Would he stand his ground, or would the forest of doubt swallow his voice whole? The crowd tensed, waiting for the next move. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, his breath shallow. The moment stretched like elastic, the air crackling with tension. He could feel the weight of 100 gazes locked on him, waiting. The applause had faded, replaced now by an ominous stillness. He took a step forward, fueled by a mix of fear and resolve. "Who am I?" he asked, his voice shaky but firm. "Just a diner worker, yes. But I'm also someone who believes in the power of community. I believe that every one of us has a part to play. If you feel that is insignificant, maybe you've lost sight of what we can accomplish together." His words hung in the air like notes from the piano. The suited man scoffed, unraveling the courage brewing within Ethan. "Cute speech, but this town isn't built on dreams. It's built on profit, and you're just a distraction from reality." Anger surged in Ethan's chest. He recognized that tone, the dismissive undertone that pulled down anyone who dared to reach higher. Wasn't he that what had stifled so many dreams? Collectively, the audience squirmed. Whispers of dissent floated through the crowd, but Ethan knew he needed to step off that knife edge. "I may be just one man," he declared, his voice rising, fueled by an emboldened spirit. "But I stand for the dreams of everyone here. We can help each other, lift each other up." He turned to face the crowd, every hopeful smile was a spark igniting the room. "You don't have to be extraordinary to do extraordinary things. Each of you has a gift, you just need to believe it." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The young girl with the crumpled paper stepped forward, holding her note high, a small piece of hope in her hands. "He's right. Look what he did today, he played for us and made us feel things. We can do that too." Ethan's heart swelled. This girl, filled with innocence and enthusiasm, was a reminder of why he had begun this journey. Others nodded in approval, their faces brightening with unspoken dreams rekindled. The energy in the space shifted again as confidence surged from one person to another, an invisible thread connecting them all, yet the man in the suit stood firm, unwilling to yield. "You think this is all about feeling good? Life isn't just about music and dreams, it's about survival. You can't change the world with a melody." Ethan's mind raced. Wasn't he that what they had all been doing in this very moment? He locked eyes with the man. And what is survival without connection? Without hope? Music awakens those emotions. If we build a community where kindness transcends despair, where we share and uplift each other, we can change everything. The crowd erupted with cheers, their voices merging into a symphony of solidarity. The elderly lady from the back chimed in, "Yes, right. We can be more than what we are told we are." The suited man shifted uncomfortably, the resolve in his eyes fracturing ever so slightly. As he took a step back, the energy around Ethan felt electric, a tapestry woven from threads of hope, resilience, and unity, each thread stronger together. But in that moment of triumph, Ethan's heart raced with a new worry. What if the man didn't back down easily? What if this encounter threatened everything he had worked for? He narrowed his gaze, ready for whatever came next. Would it be a confrontation, or could they move forward together? The crowd buzzed with anticipation, eyes flickering between the two men, each heartbeat echoing with unanswered questions. In that charged silence, Ethan knew he had triggered something far greater than a simple challenge. What came next could alter his course and the fate of Cedar Grove forever. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle like a heavy blanket on his shoulders. He stood firm, heart racing, drenched in adrenaline and determination. The crowd held their breath, as if they knew something had to break, something had to change. The suited man adjusted his tie, jaw clenched tight. "You really think standing up here with your little tales of dreams and music will help you win? This isn't a fairy tale." His voice was sharp, slicing through the hopeful atmosphere. "You have no idea what it takes to actually make a difference in this world." Ethan's chest tightened, but he couldn't back down. With the crowd behind him, he felt strong, anchored by their believing eyes. "You're right, it's not a fairy tale. It's real life, with real people who want to feel valued and seen. We're all searching for meaning in the everyday. We're tired of empty profits at the expense of our connections. We want purpose." His declaration rang out, bouncing off the walls and igniting a fire within the audience. A wave of excitement traveled through the people, their collective resolve shifting the air itself. More voices joined in, adding fuel to the growing flame. "Together, we can build something better," echoed a voice from the back, a high school teacher whose career had been stifled by discouragement. "I'm tired of seeing my students' dreams crushed before they even begin." "Yes," the elderly lady called again, raising her cane in defiance. "We deserve to dream." Ethan's heart soared. He felt a mighty bond wrap around him, a unity blossoming in the middle of the chaos. If only for a moment, the crowd felt invincible, but the suited man wasn't backing down just yet. He paced the stage like a predator, each step deliberate. "This is naive. You cannot change the way things work overnight. You don't even know what's at stake. What if we stopped thinking about stakes in terms of profits and started thinking about values?" Ethan countered, stepping closer, feeling the urgency rise. "What if we valued our community, our relationships, over material gain? If we raise each other up, we create a foundation that benefits everyone." Ethan's words hung heavy in the air as the crowd erupted in a chorus of agreement. Shouts of "Yes, we can," mingled with stinging tears of hope. A palpable energy transformed the venue like a dam breaking, releasing a torrent of pent-up emotion. The suited man paused, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. For the first time, he seemed to hesitate. Suddenly, a brave voice emerged from the crowd. It was the young girl with the crumpled note. "I want to sing," she declared, a fierce light in her eyes. "If we all sing together, we can do anything." Ethan felt a rush of pride for her bravery. It was contagious. One by one, people began to gather closer, drawn together by a force they could no longer ignore. Hands grabbed arms, voices lifted in harmony. Someone in the front started humming, and soon the tune spread like wildfire. "Let us build our dreams, let us sing out loud." They began, and Ethan felt the power shift. They weren't just words anymore. They were a revolution born of optimism and resilience. As the chorus swelled, Ethan turned to face the man in the suit once more. This is what we stand for. Not just idle chatter, but action driven by hope. The crowd grew louder, drowning out the last whispers of doubt. The suited man crossed his arms, his defenses wavering. It wasn't just about profit anymore, it was about something deeper, something that stirred the hearts of everyone present. But just as the momentum seemed unstoppable, the man shot Ethan a challenging look. You think this is your victory, don't you? But every revolution has its consequences. The cheerful songs faltered, an uneasy silence falling over the crowd. The words twisted like a knife into Ethan's gut. What could that mean? What was he willing to lose to protect his newfound sense of unity? The uncertainty gnawed at him as he steeled himself to face the truth. Was he ready for everything that might come next? The silence lingered, thick with tension. Ethan could feel a cold sweat gathering at the back of his neck. The suited man's words echoed like a distant drum, reminding everyone that this moment was steeped not just in hope but also in potential sacrifice. Ethan glanced around. The faces in the crowd shifted from hopeful to reflective, the spark of excitement fading into a hesitant flicker. He needed to regain that fire. What are you afraid of? He asked, searching each person's eyes. Is it change? Loss? Disappointment? Silence answered back, but in that silence, Ethan sensed something more profound: fear of risking their hearts, their dreams, and then the uncertainty morphed into a challenge. We can't just stand here singing. We have to act. A voice shouted from the front, brimming with energy yet laced with doubt. It was the young girl again. But how? Ethan's mind raced. We gather our stories. We channel our pain into something beautiful. He stepped forward, the adrenaline coursing through him like a rising tide. Each of us has a story to share, a song to sing. Let's organize. The crowd buzzed with whispers. Organizing felt daunting, a task that would require more than just song. It would need real work, dedication, and bravery. But the resilient spirit that had sparked a moment ago began to spark again, flickering like a candle in the wind. What if we create a community garden? A voice called from the back, a local florist who had always felt sidelined. A place to grow and share. Yes. Someone else shouted. And we can host open mic nights. A way to share our stories and talents. Ethan felt the excitement build again, each idea adding another layer to their tapestry of hope. The suited man watched, a stone-faced observer, but even he couldn't fully hide the strain of doubt etched across his features. Let us unify our strengths, our collective knowledge, our abilities. Ethan urged, urgency in his voice. What if we found ways to support each other? What if we held workshops so people could learn new skills? There are artists, teachers, builders, and dreamers in this room. If we each contribute, we can create something magnificent. A wave of acceptance surged through the audience. People nodded, smiles creeping back as nervous energy metamorphosed into determination. But just when it looked like they might truly rally together, an unexpected voice sliced through the sound of a phone ringing. The suited man answered, his face twisting into a tight mask of concern. What do you mean? How fast? The crowd quieted again, curiosity wrapping them in a bubble of anticipation. Ethan's heart raced. What news could warrant such a reaction? The suited man turned his back to the audience, murmuring urgently into the phone. Ethan caught phrases that made his stomach churn. Risks, investments, consequences. Ethan, someone said softly, pulling his attention. It was the young girl again, her wide eyes reflecting a mix of wonder and fear. What could happen if we really do this? As hesitation danced in the air, Ethan felt the weight of responsibility pressing more heavily than before. I believe we can do this together, he said, though uncertainty laced his voice. But it will take everything we have. We can't back down now. The door to fear opened wider. What if the man's grim conversation on the phone held a truth they weren't ready to face? What if their dreams came at a cost? Would they leap into the unknown, hand in hand, or retreat to what was comfortable? Everyone stared at Ethan like he held the answers, but he too felt the trembling uncertainty of stepping forward. And then the question hung in the air, heavy with possibility and dread. What will they decide to risk for their dreams? Ethan's heart drummed in his chest, a mix of excitement and fear as the crowd waited for him to lead them through the unknown. The suited man's conversation was a dark cloud hovering above them. Maybe we should just take a step back, someone murmured from the back. The flicker of hope that was finding its way into the air began to wane again. No. Ethan said, his voice rising above the whispers. We can't let fear dim our light. We've already walked so far together. If we stop now, everything we've built will crumble. We owe it to ourselves to try. The young girl's eyes shone with determination. What if we put on a show? A concert to raise money for the garden and the workshops. Her enthusiasm was infectious. Ethan nodded vigorously, feeling the energy shift again. Yes. Ethan echoed, gripping the podium. A concert. We'll showcase our stories, our talents, and invite everyone in the community to come together. Music brings people closer. It can heal. A ripple of energy flowed through the crowd. Faces brightened, tiny flames of excitement reignited as murmurs of agreement filled the air. I can help with the sound, shouted a young man in the front, his fists clenched, ready to fight for this dream. And I have connections to local artists. They could headline. Another voice chimed in. Ethan felt that the momentum was building. The fear that had once bound them was starting to dissolve. He could see it in their futures, weaving together under strings of music, laughter, and togetherness. But just as the tide was turning, the suited man slammed his phone shut and pivoted to face them, anger flashing in his eyes. We can't afford to waste resources on this. He thundered, his voice cutting through their budding enthusiasm. This isn't a fantasy. It's a risk, and it could backfire. You're talking about a lot of money and effort, and for what? Overnight success. The crowd fell silent again, uncertainty creeping back into their hearts, and Ethan felt a familiar sinking sensation in his stomach. But what is life without risk? He called out, desperate to rally them again. We've all experienced pain, disappointment, every one of us. But out of that can come something beautiful. Don't we deserve to try? A heavy pause lingered. Then, quietly, someone stepped forward. It was the florist, her hands trembling but resolved. We write our own stories, don't we? If we don't take the leap, we'll miss the chance to live those stories. Who will show us how to turn our pain into purpose? One by one, heads began to nod. Acceptance hung in the air, electrifying and hopeful. Even the suited man's harsh features softened slightly. He couldn't deny the passion radiating from the crowd. Let us do it. Called the girl again, her voice echoing through the auditorium, a bright beacon of resilience. Let us make our concert. Let us show them we can change our story. Ethan felt a rush as he surveyed the faces around him. This was it. They were stepping onto a path of potential. But beneath it all, a flicker of worry still gnawed at him. What if this partnership, this leap of faith, revealed hidden truths, buried fears, or even worse? He sensed the fire was stronger than the worry. He took a breath, letting hope fill him up. All right then, let us get started. We have a concert to plan. As the crowd erupted into applause, Ethan felt a rush of adrenaline. But in the back of his mind, echoes of doubt whispered. Would they really find the strength to turn their dreams into reality, or would they face the harsh truths buried beneath their yearning for change? What awaited them down this path of music and risk? And would they be ready when the truth found them? Ethan stood at the podium, the applause cascading around him like waves. The energy surged through the room, filling every corner with a renewed sense of purpose. He scanned the crowd, eyes lighting on familiar faces, the florist, the young sound engineer, the girl who had sparked the whole idea. They were all there, ready to take this leap into the unknown. "Let us break into groups," he called out over the applause, his voice steadying as he embraced the excitement. "We need a team to handle logistics, one for marketing, and of course, we need musicians to put this together." He felt the momentum shift again, turning anxiety into action. Individuals began moving, congregating into clusters. Conversations sprang to life, mixing with laughter and ideas floating in the air. Ethan found himself in the middle of it, swept up in the whirlwind. "Ethan!" A voice pierced through the noise. It was the florist, her eyes wide. "Can I handle setting up the stage? I have some ideas about how to make it beautiful with flowers and lights." "Absolutely." Ethan encouraged, his heart swelling. "It's about what makes us feel at home. Your vision will tie everything together." As teams formed, Ethan hurried around, offering help and advice while trying to quell the soft doubt still nagging at him. Each time he reassured someone, he hoped to quell his own unrest. He approached the young man who had spoken up first about managing the sound. "Hey, what is your name?" Ethan asked, offering a genuine smile. "Jake," the young man replied, his passion evident. "I've got connections to some musicians who want to join us. They're all looking for gigs. Let us leverage that. We need to reach out to as many people as we can." Ethan's excitement was palpable. They were coming alive, driven by a shared goal, but just as the groups began to fracture off into productive discussions, the suited man cleared his throat, regaining their attention. "I still think this is a mistake, and I won't support it if we can't band together. There's too much at stake." Ethan's smile faltered for a moment, but he stood his ground. "Then join us. Your insight might help us understand each step better. We're not here to divide, we want to unite." Perhaps it was the surprise in Ethan's challenge, but the man merely nodded, retreating back quietly, arms folded. As the planning unfolded, ideas each brighter than the last darted across the room like fireflies. They envisioned stages sprawling with colorful lights, sounds harmonizing a symphony of hope, and food trucks lining the streets to draw in the crowds. Ethan allowed himself to dream, filling the gaps in their plans with visions of what could be. Hours flew by, and in that time, a splendid hope swirled like a hurricane around them. They dissected tasks, made lists, and prepared to knock on every door they could. Ethan watched, feeling pride swell in his chest. This community was alive, pulsing with raw energy. But as they wrapped up the planning session, a learned weariness tinged the air. Ethan felt the fatigue settle on their shoulders still, an undercurrent of excitement quaked beneath. "What comes next?" a voice asked, breaking through the silence. It was the girl again, her expression a mixture of hope and trepidation. Ethan took a deep breath, realizing the uncertainty wrapped around them. "Now we put our plans into action and hope everyone feels as driven as we are." But a voice inside him whispered again, would that hope hold when it was truly tested? What would happen when the real challenges surfaced, with the weight of their dreams resting so heavily on their shoulders? As they left the auditorium, he felt the cool night air wash over him, sending shivers through his spine. A concert was one thing, but what would come alive on that stage was another. Would music truly bring light to their lives and show them paths they hadn't even considered? Just as Ethan was about to step into the glow of possibilities, a chilling thought gripped him. What if everything they were building could just as easily vanish with a single misstep? The night air was cool, and Ethan stood on the sidewalk, heart pounding in his chest. The vibrant energy from the meeting still buzzed in his ears, but the weight of reality settled heavily upon him. Doubts crept in, whispering fears about everything that lay ahead. Would they all come together? Would the community rally like they envisioned? He turned to walk toward his car when he noticed the girl from the meeting, her dark hair catching the streetlights as she wove through groups of laughter and conversation. She didn't seem ready to leave just yet. Ethan hesitated, then called out, "Hey. You okay?" She looked back, her face lighting up. "Yeah. Just thinking. I know we're all excited, but I feel a little lost." Ethan nodded, understanding. "It's a lot to take in. But you're not alone. We're doing this together." Her eyes gleamed with gratitude, and Ethan felt a small surge of confidence. "What part are you most excited about?" "Maybe the performances," she said, a bit shyly. "I can play the piano a little. Not well, but enough to know when a song hits the heart." Her voice trailed off, revealing a flicker of vulnerability that struck Ethan. He leaned closer, intrigued. "Do you think you could perform?" I've never done that in front of people, though. What if I mess up?" Ethan could see the fear in her eyes, the same fear that he felt creeping into his own being sometimes. "Everyone here will be cheering you on. Trust me, showing your heart is the best part," he replied, hoping to comfort her. She glanced back at the crowd, the weight of hesitation still heavy. "What if I do it wrong?" "What's wrong?" Ethan asked warmly. "Music is about feeling. As long as you feel it, that's all that matters. Plus, think of the joy it could bring others." He stepped back, letting her mull it over. She bit her lip, clearly wrestling with her thoughts, the glow of hope battling against the shadow of doubt. After a moment, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small notebook. "I've written some songs," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "Really?" Ethan's excitement bubbled through. "Let us hear them. Maybe you can share one at the concert." Her cheeks flushed, and she shook her head. "I don't know. What if they're not good enough?" "Trust me," he persisted. "It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real." For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then, with a hesitant nod, she opened the notebook. The words spilled onto the page like a stream of sentiments moving through a valley. Each line danced with delicate authenticity. "Okay, I'll think about it," she finally murmured, a flicker of determination igniting in her eyes. Ethan smiled, feeling a surge of hope for the both of them. As they stepped back toward the crowd, their footsteps synchronized, laughter filled the air and conversations resumed. Ethan could sense the energy shifting again. This was a moment, a tiny seed of possibility in a bustling night. "Ethan!" Someone shouted from the crowd. It was Jake, waving enthusiastically. "We're heading to get coffee. Want to join?" "Sure." Ethan grinned, grabbing the girl's arm gently. "Come on, let us go." The trio made their way forward, and that flicker of her previous trepidation diminished, replaced with the warmth of shared excitement. Yet, as Ethan strolled along, he couldn't shake the sense that something monumental was about to unfold. He turned back to the girl, who now walked with an air of quiet determination. But what if she faced rejection? What if her music was indeed not enough? Just as they reached the coffee shop, Ethan's mind raced with unanswered questions. Could one person's song truly change everything? What if the magic they all believed in slipped through their fingers when faced with the world's cold pragmatism? The flickering lights of the cafe beckoned them inside, laughter spilling out into the street like echoes of a budding dream. But outside, under the starlit sky, the weight of impending decisions loomed. Would their collective hopes withstand the turbulence to come? Inside the coffee shop, the aroma of roasted beans wafted through the air, mingling with the sound of clinking cups and low chatter. Ethan, Jake, and the girls slipped into a cozy corner, warmth flooding over them as they settled onto plush seats. The girl, he learned, was named Claire, and she revealed a shy smile as orders were taken. "What LL you have?" Jake asked, leaving the table briefly to grab coffee. "I'll just go with a hot chocolate," Claire said, her fingers nervously tapping on the table. Ethan noticed the way she looked around, absorbing the lively energy around her. It was a different kind of buzz than they had felt during the meeting. "So, you really write songs?" Ethan asked, eager to draw her out more. It was clear she had a talent waiting to be nurtured, and he felt a rush of excitement at the thought of her performing. Sometimes, Claire admitted, her voice barely rising above the chatter. But they're just for me. I've never shared them with anyone. Not even your family? Ethan probed gently. No. She laughed, but the nervous edge lingered. I think they love it, but, it's such a personal thing. Maybe that's what makes it special, Ethan replied, his mind racing back to her initial hesitations. You could share a piece of you, and that's what music connects us with, our shared experiences. Claire's eyes sparkled with understanding, but doubt still held her captive. Ethan wanted to push her out of that comfort zone, but he also knew they weren't there yet. Jake returned with their drinks, his expression animated. All right, who's ready to be inspired by caffeine? Laughter erupted from their table, but Claire's smile faded for a moment as specters of doubt brushed against her features. Ethan caught it, and he leaned in closer. Hey, if you thought of something you really wanted to share, what would it be? Her eyes widened slightly, then narrowed as she hesitated. Maybe, a song I wrote about feeling lost, she finally said, her voice quieter than before, like it was a secret she was almost ashamed to bear. Sounds perfect for the concert. Jake chimed in, not aware of the internal struggle that crossed between them. Yeah, it really does. Ethan encouraged. A love song shared with a community, it could resonate with so many people. Claire stared into her hot chocolate, a whirl of emotions dancing on her face. But what if they don't connect with it? What if it's just nothing? Then it's nothing, Ethan said, his eyes meeting hers. But make it yours. Trust your feelings. No song is too small when it's honest. Exactly. Jake added, animatedly waving his hands. You never know who might hear it and feel like you just reached into their heart. There's beauty in vulnerability. A pause settled over the table, as Claire absorbed their words. Hope flickered again, tentatively, like the candlelight glinting off their mugs. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a group slid into the seat across from them. Faces Ethan recognized from the meeting familiar, expectant faces now chatting animatedly, unaware of the inner turmoil swirling at the corner table. Oh look! It's the dream team. One of them beamed, instantly turning the spotlight onto him and Claire. Jake shuffled, feigning confidence while nudging Ethan. You guys are practically famous now. What's your plan, Ethan? The unexpected attention shifted like a tide, and Ethan felt a strange pressure wrap around his chest. Would sharing Claire's music mean something now? Yet, more importantly, would this community become a sanctuary for the stories that lay unspoken? The unfurling of something special, was it about to break free? I think Claire began, her voice rising a touch above the chatter, her eyes shifting between Ethan and Jake. I think I'm ready to share if you can help me. Ethan held his breath, anticipation dancing in his gut. The cafe buzzed with energy, yet all he could focus on was the fragile thread of connection growing stronger before them. But right then, as a wave of excitement washed over the table, a loud crash rang out across the room. A spill, a commotion. Something had gone awry. Gasps rang out, and all eyes diverted, sending a jolt through the cozy atmosphere. What had just interrupted their moment of vulnerability? Ethan's heart quickened. The crowd gasped as the young barista fumbled a tray of drinks, sending cups tumbling to the floor. Liquid splashed everywhere, dark brown stains blooming on the polished wood. A wave of sympathy washed over Ethan as he watched the girl's face turn crimson, mortified by the spectacle. Claire, however, did not cower. She gasped and sprang into action. Let us help, she said, her voice cutting through the uncertainty that hung in the air. She grabbed napkins and leaped up, showing unexpected confidence. Ethan's heart swelled at her response. Let us go, he called, and before he knew it, both he and Jake were on their feet, rushing to assist. They helped wipe down the mess, laughed gently with the barista, who graciously accepted their help. As they cleaned up, laughter began to fill the air again. It was invigorating, a reminder of the shared humanity in those simple moments, reinforcing the lessons Ethan had fought for in Cedar Grove. The cafe staff joined in, and soon everyone was working together, laughing and sharing stories about their most embarrassing moments. When the chaos settled, Claire returned to their table, her eyes shimmering. "It feels good to help and to make a connection." "Yes," Ethan replied, a grin stretching across his face. "It's like music bringing people together. It's all about making those moments matter." He could see that spark of inspiration growing in her, slowly blossoming. Encouraged, Claire finally found her voice again. "Maybe we can share our songs in a way like we just did here: forgiveness, laughter, connection. It could help others find their hope." "Exactly." Ethan felt the adrenaline rush through him again. "Now imagine what you could do on stage. You're already taking charge here." Her cheeks flushed, but Ethan was buoyed by a sense of possibility. By now, a ripple of excitement had swept through the cafe again. Amid the chatter and clinking of cups, their group had begun sharing their ideas about the upcoming concert. The idea of weaving their stories into a tapestry of music ignited a passionate response that echoed through the room. That night, as they all sat around their table, Ethan felt the weight lift, allowing hope to envelop him like warmth on a chilly day. "We'll create something beautiful. We'll show Cedar Grove what it truly means to come together," he declared, his heart pounding with conviction. Days passed into weeks as they planned for the concert. Ethan felt every moment pulse with life as the pieces began to coalesce. The sound engineer worked tirelessly, musicians joined forces, and everyone contributed bits of labor and love: the florist's flowers, the baker's treats, the teacher's new songs. Connections blossomed like wildflowers after a rain, filling Cedar Grove's spirit with colors of resilience. Finally, the concert day arrived, the air heavy with anticipation. Ethan stood backstage, heart racing as whispers floated around him, filled with hope and nerves. The crowd was palpable, the auditorium buzzed with voices, each one a stitch in their growing tapestry of community. Ethan glanced toward Claire, who stood next to him, her jaw set and determination radiating from her. "You've got this." He beamed at her, and she nodded, tightening her grip on the microphone. One by one, they took the stage, each performance stitching together their stories and songs into a rich fabric that showcased their truths: laughter, love, and vulnerability, their souls laid bare for the world to see. Ethan watched Claire step forward, her hands trembling as she positioned herself at the keyboard. The crowd quieted, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Heads turned to her, eyes shining. She had become their beacon. Then, she played. The sweet melody flowed, reaching into the hearts of each person in attendance. The words poured from her, spilling over with emotion, echoing the very struggles they all shared. Tears glistened in eyes around the room, and Ethan wiped a stray emotion from his own cheek. There was something transformative in the air. As Claire finished, applause erupted like fireworks, igniting the room with love and acceptance. Ethan felt every heartbeat around him a pulsating reminder of who they had become, not defined by insecurity or doubt, but by their shared dreams. Later, the evening unraveled into laughter and connection, conversations sparked like fireflies. People shared stories about fear and triumph, finding common ground in struggles once hidden. Ethan glanced at the suited man from the town, now standing at the edge of the crowd and witnessing the power of a community transformed. He stepped forward, extending a hand toward Ethan. The man started, hesitations dancing in his eyes. "I see it now. It's more than just a concert. You've created something meaningful." Ethan felt gratitude rising from his heart like the first hot rays of dawn. "We did it together." Each note counted. Each story mattered. As the night drew to a close, smiles and connections glimmered all around them. Ethan beamed at Claire, now thriving in her passion, holding her head high. She was not just a girl with dreams, she was part of the heartbeat of Cedar Grove. The realization washed over Ethan: they had not just constructed a concert, but reshaped their existence, weaving together threads of hope, music, and community into a powerful legacy that would spill over into every facet of their lives. Together, They had boldly claimed their place, showing that the stories within each heart had the power to elevate, to inspire, and to transform, and in that moment, Ethan understood. This was just the beginning of building a beautiful future where music and unity would propel them forward, hand in hand. As he stepped off the stage, he whispered a silent promise to not only follow his dreams but to support others on their journeys, carrying the light of hope forward through every note they played. Each story shared that night became a thread in their shared journey, a testament that despite their struggles, they had found something remarkable amidst the struggle. With laughter echoing in the background and hearts wide open, they were no longer just Cedar Grove, they were a thriving community, a chorus of brave souls boldly declaring their unity and resilience. That if you felt the magic of this story, if you resonated with Ethan, Claire, and Cedar Grove's journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the love. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us build a community that believes in our dreams.